Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network.
'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven.
A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
Welcome to Foster to Foster, and now here's your host, Dr. Anissa McNeil.
Good morning, and welcome to Foster Radio Show. I'm Dr. Anissa McNeil, and this is a show where we talk about the ideas, policies, and the concerns of foster youth here in the United States of America. I want to take just a brief moment this morning to talk about some of the weather and the natural disasters that are affecting so many of us here in the United States, especially me, my family. We've had everything from Hurricane Irma to hit the Caribbean, which directly affected my sorority sister, Lachelle Miles, and I'm so glad to report to you all today that she's doing well. And that same Hurricane Irma and the subsequent Hurricane Jose is headed towards my home, Florida, where my mother and all of my family reside. So for just a moment today, I wanted to take a moment to pray for everyone in the Caribbean, everyone in the United States that may be and has been affected by the hurricane and the weather in the United States. And also, many of you already know that a 8.2 hurricane hit Mexico yesterday. And to all the families in Mexico, I want you to know that my heart and my prayers go out to you and your families as well. Earthquake, yes, a 8.0 earthquake hit Mexico yesterday. And so with the natural disasters that are all around us, here in the United States, the Caribbean, and in Mexico, the title of today's show is The Time Is Now. What are we waiting for? This show is dedicated to the lives and the betterment of foster youth here in the United States. And so I want to talk about what we know to be true here in the United States today. Today in the United States, there are over 400,000 children in foster care. Right here in my home state of California, where I reside now, there are over 62,000 children are in foster care. My message today here on the radio is the time is now for us to care for the children in foster care. And this show is predicated on an article that came out this week in the U.S. News. It's titled, Foster Youth Need Mentors and Real-World Experience. That article came out, and it is by a former foster youth like myself, and she gives her experience of being in the foster care system from the age of 17, her sister the age of 13, and her twin brothers. And she talked about that as she left the foster care system at 18, that she was not prepared for the world. She did not know about budgeting or other items to help her be an adult at 17. And so that's not a new story here on Foster to Foster Radio Show. We've had many episodes about aging out of foster care and how our youth are not prepared. And so the title of the show today is The Time Is Now. And so as we look at our foster care system, why do we hear so many children saying, I was in the foster care system, either I'm not prepared or I was not well cared for? And so today I want to ask more questions than what I have answers for. Today I'm going to ask questions that really ask us as American citizens to really look at over 400,000 children in our country and how they're being cared for. So on a part of our show, today, we're going to talk about the foster care system as it exists today. Then after we talk about the foster care system as it exists today, we're going to talk about the new law in the state of California, which looks to break away foster youth from living in these large treatment facilities to them living in more resource family homes and living in those large facilities for a short period of time. And then we're going to end today with the same question that we began with. The time is now, and what can we do to improve this system for 400,000 children here in the United States? I will be the first person to admit that I don't have all the answers, but I sure want to be courageous enough to ask the question of all of us in regards to what are we going to do to better their lives. My name is Dr. Anissa McNeil, and you're listening to the Foster to Foster radio show. I'll be right back after this short commercial break. Education Works Consulting Firm provides foster youth education services. We work to make sure that every foster youth has a chance by providing a way through education. Please visit us at edworks4u.org or call our offices at 213-634-0044. Education works for all of us.
The Hair Garden, where we grow hair from the roots, is a full-service hair salon and supplies located at 40119 Marietta Hot Springs Road, number 103C, Marietta, California. We are open on Mondays through Saturdays from 9 to 6 p.m. Come in and purchase your hair supplies or receive a full hair service, or let us restore your hair. We have weekly specials. Call The Hair Garden at 951-698-8444 or visit our website at www.hairgardenmarietta.com. That's www.hairgardenmarietta.com. We look forward to seeing you. Happy holidays.
The Unstoppable Awards is a nonprofit organization that provides scholarships to foster youth. If you are a foster youth graduating from high school and live in Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, or San Bernardino County, we'd like to offer a scholarship to you if you have a 2.3 to 3.2 GPA, you've overcome some significant challenges, and you've been accepted to a college, university, or trade school. Please visit our website at www.unstoppableawards.org or call our office at 213-634-0044. We'd like to help you. We'd like to make you unstoppable. Casa of San Bernardino's 9th annual Munching at the Mansion will be held on September 28th at 5:30 p.m. This event will be held at the historic Edwards Mansion. Come and enjoy food, drinks, and wines from the finest wineries, comedy, live music, raffles, and more. Doors open at 5:30 p.m. Tickets are $60 each, $100 for a couple, and $375 for a table. Proceeds from this event will help support foster youth and youth on probation. Purchase your tickets today at www.casaofsanbernardino.org. That's www.casaofsb.org. For more information, call 909-881-6760. Come out and support foster youth in San Bernardino. We're munching at the mansion. We're back to Foster with your host, Dr. Anissa McNeil. Welcome back, everyone. And the title of our show today is The Time is Now. And I ask you on behalf of the 400,000 foster youth that are in our foster care system today, that the time is now. And so when I think about the general public and when I think about what do you know about the foster care system, Why is this system so traumatizing to a child? And it goes at the onus or the onset of a child being involved in foster care. A child goes into the foster care system from abuse or neglect of a parent. So they're not coming to the foster care system after having a great day at the park or a great family event. They're coming because something so horrific is happening in their family that the best thing that we can think of as a country is to remove them from their family. So I want to show you a video that we've showed here on Foster to Foster radio show, but it really gives you an idea of what it feels like for a child to be removed from their family. Let's look at this video on YouTube titled Removed.
Sometimes someone hurts you so bad.
I don't think you understand me.
It stops hurting at all. Until something makes you feel again. And then it all comes back. Every word, every hurt, every moment. How could you ever understand where I come from? Even if you ask, even if you listen, you do not really hear or see or feel. You don't remember my story. You haven't walked my path. You haven't seen what I've seen. My past defines me. This is who I am. I am unseen, unheard, unwanted. That is what I am, if even I am anything. It seemed like the same thing that held me up forced me down. And the world turned upside down, and order disappeared. Nothing was how it was supposed to be. And a heavy sadness filled my soul. Deeper and deeper I fell within myself. And nothing could draw me out. Trapped in the misery of my life. Lost in the sorrow of my soul. Unable to see the light. Unable to see the dawn. To feel. To hope.
What are you doing taking my fruit?
To dream. And I found the darkest days of my life kept coming. The blackest nights for my soul never stopped. It seemed like it was always nighttime and nightmares, and never morning. And maybe you wonder why, but mostly you try not to think about it, and try to get by, and try to survive. And all the other stuff seems so much like nothing, compared to just wanting the most important things back again. Like wishing you could see your mama smile again, and hear her sing that one favorite song that always calmed you down when things were all messed up. Or if you couldn't have her back, at least get to take care of your baby brother. 'Cause you know he needs you, and he's gonna be so scared all alone. And who's gonna hold his hand and whisper it'll be all right to him? And who will whisper it to me?
As you watch that video, you can see how terrifying it is when young children enter in the foster care system. And I have to share with you very honestly, when myself and my little brother entered the foster care system, I felt just like that young girl. I had a little baby brother and we were separated into the system. We went into the system and I wondered what would happen with my brother until he came to the same group home where I was. So you can see that when young children enter our foster care system, they're not coming from having a party. They're coming because they have trauma and they have been traumatized. So now let's talk about from going from trauma to the foster care system. What does that look like for a young child? We did a show maybe a few months ago. Wow, I can't believe it was in January. We did a show called Prophetize Foster Care. And in our current foster care system, many people go into foster care system or become a foster parent for the profit of foster care. You know, we talked about on that show that not all, I'm not saying that all, not every foster parent goes into it for the money, but a large majority do. And we talked about the sentiment of foster youth coming out of the foster care system and them saying, I was a check. It was all about the check. And I would just ask us as America, if we judge the end of this, if we were to gather up all 400,000 children and then look at approximately the 243,000 that don't exit the system within 1 year, and then talk to the children that remain in the system, how many of them would feel like the foster care system really cared for them? You're going to find that to be a very small number. So I'm not talking to the small number of foster parents who go into this with a heart and we're going to care for these kids and we're going to make their lives better. I'm talking about the majority that uses this as a profit. We also talked about on this show how some group homes here in the state of California can make anywhere from $10,000, $9,000, $8,000 a month to care for a child. So if you're making anywhere from $900 to $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month, should the children leave the system being whole? Should these children leave with the best care that we could give them? Is the time now to ask that they receive the best care that can be given to them? Is the time now to ask for more accountability in the foster care system? If you're getting these monies, and can you show evidence that all of the monies that you are receiving are for the care of the child? Is the time now to ask for more accountability in the system? Is the time now to ask who's checking? Who checks to see if a foster parent indeed spends all of that money caring for the child? Because here in the state of California, those monies are intended for the care of the needs of the child. Do we have anything in place to ensure that that's happening? What do we have in place to ensure that this child walks away with the best care possible? How do we as America put together something that will ensure that? Unfortunately, children do not get to choose their parents. We're all here on this earth, and none of us had an opportunity to look among the thousands of women and millions of women and men and say, I'd like for her to be my mother. I'd like for him to be my father. Unfortunately, we don't get to choose. As a child, you have the mother and the father that you have, not at your choice. Some of us are very fortunate in that. We get mothers and fathers who really care for us and give us a great life and a great opportunity. And some children, like myself, we're not so fortunate. We don't get a mother who can care for us, and we don't have a father that can care for us. But not at our choosing. And this happens at a time in life when we don't have a lot of skill. You're a child. You don't have a bank account. You don't have a mortgage. You don't know what a job is. So I simply ask America, is the time now to make sure that these children receive the best care in a huge system that we have all across America? You'll notice that in that U.S. News article that came out about foster care children needing mentors and real life experience, they noted a study, and in the study it talked about now here in the United States of America, We have 23 countries that expanded foster care to the age of 21, and one tribal council that has foster care to the age of 21. And that's the case here in the state of California. But if you're not in one of those 23 states or that one specific tribe, you age out of the foster care system at 18. So whether it's 18 or 21, are these children prepared to live life with no parental support? Because unfortunately, these are the children that when they get stuck at 18 or 19, they can't call home and say, Mom, can you help me? I'm a mother too. I have a son that is in college, and he's 19. And when he runs out of money, he calls me, Mom, I need help with 1, 2, 3. But see, he's fortunate. He has a mom to call for help. How many young people need help? So is the time now for us to make sure that our foster youth get the best care possible? Is the time now to look at the accountability of a $1 billion foster care system? The foster care system in the United States cost our country, I believe it's close to $1 billion. If we're spending this much money on the care of children, should they not walk out with the best care and the best skills possible? For some of the group homes and foster homes and level 14 homes, when we're spending $10,000 a month, should these children come out with the best care and the best services? That's $120,000 a year. Is the time now? So we talked about how the foster care system is a huge profit for some. It is a huge profit for some. So what happens to the children when they grow up in a profitized system? If you grow up and you think that I am a check, I'm here living with you only because I'm a check, what happens to those children? When we come back from this commercial break, we're going to talk just a little bit about what is the current system here in the state of California, and what are our foster children saying? What do they need when they're 18 and beyond? And is the time now for us to do better in our foster care system? My name is Dr. Anissa McNeil. I do the work, and I tell the stories of foster youth. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
The Hair Garden, where we grow hair from the roots, is a full-service hair salon and supplies located at 40119 Marietta Hot Springs Road, number 103C, Marietta, California. We are open on Mondays through Saturdays from 9 to 6 p.m. Come in and purchase your hair supplies or receive a full hair service, or let us restore your hair. We have weekly specials. Call The Hair Garden at 951-698-8444 or visit our website at www.hairgardenmarietta.com. That's www.hairgardenmarietta.com. We look forward to seeing you. Happy holidays. Education Works Consulting Firm provides foster youth education services. We work to make sure that every foster youth has a chance by providing a way through education. Please visit us at edworks4u.org or call our offices at 213-634-0044. Education works for all of us. The Unstoppable Awards is a nonprofit organization that provides scholarships to foster youth. If you are a foster youth graduating from high school and live in Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, or San Bernardino County, we'd like to offer a scholarship to you if you have a 2.3 to 3.2 GPA, you've overcome some significant challenges, and you've been accepted to a college, university, or trade school. Please visit our website at www.unstoppableawards.org or call our office at 213-634-0044. We'd like to help you. We'd like to make you unstoppable. We're back to Foster with your host, Dr. Anissa McNeil. Welcome back to Foster radio show. I'm Dr. Anissa McNeil, and the question before us today is the time now. Is the time now for us to improve the care of children in the foster care system? Is the time now for us to make sure that if they grow up in this system, that they grow up with the same skills, with the same care that you and I would provide to our own children? Is the time now? As we keep talking about the article that was in U.S. News by a former foster youth, she talks about being in the foster care system and going to an independent living program. She stated that as she went to the independent living program, they teach you about finances, a budget, how to open up a bank account, all of those things. So the independent living skills program is offered everywhere in our country. So why do we hear so many foster youth say, I'm not prepared when I exit the foster care system? Do we need to look at the timing of when this program is offered to foster youth? In that article, she talks about being in the program at a time where she wasn't able to receive the information. So do we need to look at when the children go through these programs, how many children actually walk away with the skills to do that in real life? Are we providing independent living skill programs at the appropriate time for traumatized youth? Are we providing the skills that they need? Would it be more appropriate to provide independent living skills when they are an independent adult, when they can readily apply the information being learned in class? Can we do applied knowledge so that they hear the information and they're of the age to go and open up their own bank account? They are living on their own, and then you can teach about a budget and monitor their budget, so that what we learned in that article, that 1 out of 4 foster youth will be homeless after 4 years of exiting the foster care system. I think that's the statistics that's reported. In California, that statistic is a little bit higher in that article. So what can we do so that so many of our foster youth do not experience homelessness? Is it time for us to look at the program that we provide that's supposed to teach them to live independently on their own? Is it time for us to look at how many kids actually learn this skill and apply it as adults? Like I said in the beginning of this broadcast, I don't have a lot of the answers, but I have more questions than answers. Because at the end result, if all of these kids are exiting or leaving the foster care system and they don't have these necessary skills and they are struggling, were we successful? And that's no different than the same questions that I ask myself as a parent. I ask myself, if my son is 19 years old and he cannot budget himself to last for 1 month, I've got to teach him more budgeting skills. I've got to teach him how to manage his money better. Are we teaching those same skills to foster children?
Why are so many of our foster youth experiencing homelessness? They experience homelessness because, unlike other children in the world, they don't have a mom or a dad to go back to. So when it doesn't work for them, they have nowhere else to go. And if the stakes are that high for you, what should we put in place for you when you are under our care? I know I'm asking a lot of questions this morning, and many questions that I'm not proposing an answer to. But I'm asking us to look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and are we doing it in the best manner? There's a new legislation out here that's proposed by Congresswoman Karen Bass. It's to provide mentors to foster youth while they're in the foster care system. And mentors are great. They're really needed. And in addition to that, I asked, can we look at the accountability of having quality care for foster youth? If a foster child needs a mentor, someone who is invested in their interest or looking for them to do even better, could we not ask that of the foster parent? Could we not ask the foster parent to be invested and interested in the foster child doing the best in life that they can do? If indeed we're paying you for the services needed for the child, could we not ask you to then be interested in the child's well-being and their outcome? In the proposed mentoring program by Congresswoman Bass, she's asking organizations that have qualified mentoring programs, that are substantial mentoring programs, that our government invests money in them so that they can then go and get more volunteer mentors. And yes, I agree that foster youth need mentors, but we're asking the mentors to volunteer and we're paying the foster parent. Can we ask the foster parent to do some of the same services as the mentor? I know what it means to be a mentor to a foster youth. I've been a CASA for many years. I was a CASA for many years. And so I know what it means to be a mentor to a foster youth, to be an advocate for a foster youth. But my question is, can we ask that of the person who we're paying to care for them? Can we ask for that person to champion and spearhead their best being in the world? It's a question. And I guess the greater question that I'm asking this morning is, can there be more accountability in the foster care system? A system that's not just made on volunteerism, a system that we put a significant amount of money into the system. So as we close out our show today, I want to remind you of how the foster care system began and why I ask you this question, that the time is now. I want to remind you that the foster care system began on orphan trains, and we covered that here on the Foster to Foster radio show. And we looked at what the orphan train was. And I showed you a video on YouTube that talked about the orphan trains and what orphan trains were. We're going to go to a short commercial break. I'm going to show you that video again. I'm just going to ask you to reflect on our current foster care system. Has it changed so much since the orphan trains? And is the time now to make sure that 400,000 children get the best care we can give? My name is Dr. Anissa McNeil. You're listening to the Foster to Foster radio show, and I'll be right back after this commercial break. Thank you.
Education Works consulting firm provides foster youth education services. We work to make sure that every foster youth has a chance by providing a way through education. Please visit us at edworks4u.org or call our offices at 213-634-0044. Education works for all of us. The Hair Garden, where we grow hair from the roots, is a full-service hair salon and supplies located at 40119 Marietta Hot Springs Road, number 103C, Marietta, California. We are open on Mondays through Saturdays from 9 to 6 p.m. Come in and purchase your hair supplies or receive a full hair service, or let us restore your hair. We have weekly specials. Call The Hair Garden at 951-698-8444 or visit our website at www.hairgardenmarietta.com. That's www.hairgardenmarietta.com. We look forward to seeing you. Happy holidays. The Unstoppable Awards is a nonprofit organization that provides scholarships to foster youth. If you are a foster youth graduating from high school and live in Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, or San Bernardino County, we'd like to offer a scholarship to you if you have a 2.3 to 3.2 GPA, you've overcome some significant challenges, and you've been accepted to a college, university, or trade school. Please visit our website at www.unstoppableawards.org or call our office at 213-634-0044. We'd like to help you. We'd like to make you unstoppable. We're back to Foster to Foster with your host, Dr. Anissa McNeil. Welcome back to Foster to Foster radio show. We're going to take a moment and look at a video called The Orphan Train. Our question today is, the time is now. Is the time now that we provide the best care for 400,000 children in foster care? Let's take a moment and look at this video and see how the foster care system began.
In the 1800s, the railroads faced a problem. Farm labor shortages along their newly expanded westward lines threatened profitability. Not surprisingly, in 1853, they jumped at the chance to support a New York City minister's idea, an early version of foster care that would find homes for the city's orphans on farms in the Midwest.
They were told, your parents are not your parents. Your past is not your past. Your life begins when you are chosen. The orphan trains began because a Methodist minister in New York City named Charles Loring Brace looked around the streets of New York and saw that there were 30,000 children living on the streets. They were getting run over, dying of starvation and exposure, going to jail, becoming criminals, they were becoming prostitutes. What we think of as Dickensian London is really what it was like then for poor people. Immigrants were pouring in, the Industrial Revolution was replacing jobs for poor people with machines, the Civil War was raging and creating vulnerable war widows. So there are many reasons that there were all these children on the streets. And Brace had this idea, it was sort of a glorified fresh air fund. He thought, if I can get children off the streets and send them to farms in the Midwest where labor is needed, maybe we can save their lives, and maybe we can clean up the streets of New York. He worked with the train companies to send children on trains to the Midwest, and the trains each held between 10 and 30 children. And over the course of the next 75 years, over 250,000 children were sent to the Midwest. There were two ways that people got children from the orphan trains. The Foundling Hospital, which got into the act a little bit later, would put notices in newspapers around the Midwest, and people would write in and say, I'd like a blonde, curly-haired, blue-eyed, 7-year-old boy with a sweet disposition. And so they would look around and find that child and put him on a train, and then that person would be waiting on the other end. The Children's Aid Society had the children line up by height at a train platform or at a city hall or a Grange hall. Then farmers or whoever came would often, not unlike a slave auction, have them run in place, check their teeth, check their muscles, have them do even sit-ups or push-ups to make sure they were strong because they wanted workers. The farmers would take them off the stage and then fill out certificates taking ownership of the child. Contracts were signed between the people who took the train riders in and the organization, the Children's Aid Society or the Foundling Hospital, and it says, shall be indentured until the age of 21. These children were 2 to 14 years old. 21 is quite a long time to be working for someone else. The people who took in the train riders were required to send them to school, 4 months of schooling a year, to feed and clothe them. There was some language about treating them as you would one of your own. However, they were labor. For some of them, it was actually a form of slavery. Many of them had no choice but do what they were told to do. There were volunteers in communities who were supposed to check in on the children. That was rather spotty as a process. For one thing, they were volunteers. And because children were property, even if someone went out to check on a situation, it was much more likely that the adults would be believed than that the child would be believed. Furthermore, there was a great disincentive to take children out of homes because it was so hard then to know what to do with them. And so they would often leave children in situations that were not really the best for them. It was an imperfect system, and what it meant is that it was absolutely a roulette wheel. And the children had no choice about where they were going, and the people who took in the train riders were as varied as human nature. There were very good people, very kind people who took in train riders, and there were also people who weren't so good and kind. Even if the people who took them in were kind, they often treated them as a little bit less than family. One of the reasons we don't know much, that most people don't know much about the orphan trains, is that the train riders themselves didn't realize that they were part of this large movement. 250,000 children go on these trains, and most of them think that their train was the only one that went. So you can see why they didn't organize more quickly or reach out to each other. I was so lucky. When I began this book, there were 150 living train riders. Today, there are probably between 10 and 20. It was such a gift. I had access to living train riders and could interview them. One of the most significant was a woman named Pat Thiessen. Even at the age of 93, she felt the loss and the sort of sorrow. She said, they were good people, but they were not my people. As one train rider said to me, we had been through so much turmoil and so much trauma. Every child who rode the orphan train had been through something terrible. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been there because the trains were the last resort.
As we see that video, for many children in the United States, our foster care system is the last resort. It is the last place where they can find any refuge from the trauma that they've been in. So my question to you, America, to all of us as American citizens, is the time now to do better for our foster youth? Is the time now to provide the best care for them so that they can grow up and have the best life that they can have? No child is asked to be born. No child can select their parents. No child asked to become a part of the foster care system. If you ask any child, many children, they'd really like for their mom and dad to be able to care for them. But when their mom and dad cannot, and we pay for a foster care system, Is the time now to ask that they get the best care that they can receive? That is the question that I have today here on the Foster to Foster radio show. I don't know the answer, but I would urge us to collectively join hands and to try to find a solution so that we provide the best services to youth who remain in our foster care system so that they come out as individuals who are able to have productive and fruitful lives. My name is Dr. Anissa McNeil. I do the work and I tell the stories of foster youth. Thank you for joining Foster to Foster radio show, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.